I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we reconvene for the FY16 budget discussion. Dr. Brunel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I placed before you is a slightly updated budget reduction scenario version that also includes the staffing increases. So at the committee's request, I did follow up with Mr. Kazanovich and Town Manager Jacobson regarding the challenges and the questions that were raised. So as indicated, the town budget will increase in the mean, in the average, 1.41%, and the school department's 1.55%. A couple of other pieces of important information. The circuit breaker money that was approved at the March 24th special town meeting of nearly $145,000 does now become part of our base. So when we figure that in, it really is at a 2.18% increase that the school district is actually realizing in FY16, which is important to know because as part of our base, we'll have that money going forward as well. I also did speak at your request regarding should any additional revenues come in. And this is a time period where the budget at the state level has not yet been finalized and may not be for some time. But should additional revenues come in, that there is an agreement that the school committee would, the school department I should say, would be eligible for a portion of that, a percentage of that. Yet to be defined, but 50% seems reasonable, and that was really part of our discussion around that. So that's that piece of it. Also, what I did on this form here, and I highlighted it for you in blue for you to see the changes. We went back and looked at the school choice monies that were going to come in, and what you had approved at the meeting back in the one of the March meetings, and I apologize for not knowing the date, you had added additional 5 slots at the middle school and an additional 10 at the high school. That actually equates to $25,000 at the middle and $50,000 at the high school. So those are reflected here. We had only needed to use 20 and 40 of that to get us to the 155. I know that the committee had expressed a strong desire to be able to add the lacrosse program at the high school next spring. By increasing the amount as offsets for school choice, we now can add that, and it still keeps us at the budget. That is the 1.55% increase. Additionally, with the staffing increases that we have seen or will see next year, I mean, I think it's fair to say, and this is something that I feel comfortable saying, that Town Manager Jacobson, Mr. Kazanovich, and all of you and myself, leadership team, we agree that more money. I think the school district has done a tremendous job of being very fiscally responsible, using our money wisely, and always putting it into the priorities that speak to our mission, our vision, and our core values. And I think that this budget does that as well. It puts, by us doing some reshuffling around of where we're going to actually be spending our money, this shows here very clearly that even with this modest increase, we're putting additional staff, quality staff, in front of our students. And to me, that's what it's about at the end of the day. The leadership team and I feel that this budget will allow us to not only maintain the status quo, but to help us move forward. Perhaps not at a rate that we might want to, but forward progress is what we're looking for. And we have an awful lot to be thankful for in the district. So it remains my recommendation that we approve this budget increase at the 1.55%. I take Mr. Kazanovich and Town Manager Jacobson at their word. We've had a very good relationship over the years, and that really is a benefit and a testament to the entire Auburn community. There's not many districts around, or communities even, where there is agreement going into town meeting, where we've set our priorities. And it doesn't mean that we may not have some disagreements behind the scenes and things, but I think the budgets that we put forward do right by children, which is our responsibility, but also do right by the town as well. So I believe this is a respectful, responsible budget, and I do recommend it.
Are there any comments, questions?
So, in our last meeting, I voted for the 221 as opposed to the 155. I thought about this quite a lot over the weekend, and I looked at what the main sticking point for me was in the whole thing. And it came down to $8,000. It came down to 0.03% difference between what the town had offered us and what what would be found in my ideal budget. That would be the $8,000 to add back in more psychological services. However, given that that's really the most important thing to me, and a 1.58 increase is not on the table to be voted for, nor will it be, I have decided to actually approve the 155 with a couple of things.
Missed it.
Gail.
Sorry, Gail, I had it in your head.
So this is important, though. This is actually very important to me that I would hope that the committee would actually back me up, because I think it's actually backing our kids up. I would want to put priority on actually adding back in, even that extra tenth of a FTE for school psychologists at the elementary level, with whatever we actually get from town meeting. Should we be lucky enough to get any money from town meeting in the fall? I think it's important, and I make no apology. I feel like that is a good thing for our kids, and I think the more people in a kid's life that we can give to them that say, you're going to be okay, you are okay, and know that they're, loved and cared for and safe, I'll never make an apology for fighting for that. So I will vote for the 1.5, but I would appreciate the school committee support and the administration to support to add that back in the fall, though that works. Because and at the end of the day, it's because I could not justify pushing more taxes on our citizens for the whole 221. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't seem right. Thank you.
Wayne?
Yes, I'd like to bring this discussion as, we had our meeting last week, and then it was put in our Auburn Daily that one member had said they don't want this to be through the departments. And every member that was here had said they will not take from the departments. And I want to clarify that, because it was the whole board said they did not want to take from any departments, not just one member. And going through everything and realizing and talking to Mary Ellen and talking to other people, I had a commitment, but once I went through the last meeting, went home, thought about it, discussed it, went through it, I think at this point in time that I will agree to the 1.55, but I am looking for better clarification and earlier clarification from our school committee and the town's boards, because I think we need to work a little bit better. We're not where we should be, because we come up with a budget, I think we started 3 point something, and we went all the way down to 1.55. And the ending balance was through town administration, not the school as a district, not the school as a school committees. But that's why I will vote for it this time and request that we do a better job with our next year's budget and see if we can work a little better than being told what we're going to do and what our kids are going to get. We're here to educate our children, and I'm going to stick by that. I've seen all the redone in the re-scenarios, and I am happy with this at this point in time, but we just can't let it to keep continuing. We need to educate our kids. We need not to go backwards. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I would just have a question. So Wayne, are you suggesting we meet with like townspeople, FinCom or manager or something like that?
Yes, we have more.
Going forward for next year? Is that?
Yes, Gail, we started going to FinCom and the Board of Selectmen and stuff to have meetings about, talking about things. We need to have more meetings. We need to let the town administration know where we stand as a school committee
Okay,
in our budget, and to make sure that we do not go backwards. I want to keep this, we got one of the best districts in Massachusetts, as far as I'm concerned, and
Yeah.
maybe other places too.
I'm sure we're
But
envied by a lot
the
of.
ones that I do know, and I know Auburn, I've been here for 9 years, going on 10, and I believe we have the best. And I want to make sure we secure that, the best, moving in our future, with our, with education, technology, sports. We do a tremendous job. I don't want to see it get hurt. I don't want to see our children get hurt. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good, because I mean, we're new, so we didn't know what to expect with this whole process and everything.
Yep.
But that sounds like a good plan. Thank you.
Any other comments,
Yeah, I
questions?
just have a comment. After speaking with Dr. Brunel last week, it seems the 1.55 is going to meet our needs for the upcoming year, and it allows us to hire new staff, which the town isn't doing. They can't hire anybody new. So keeping that in mind, and we still get the lacrosse, which I thought was important, a nice asset for next year. So I'm comfortable voting for the 1.55.
I would just like to ask you, Dr. Brunel, if you could just review kind of the town's vision on the budget this year. Just to, I know we went over it quickly, and I'm not talking about anything in detail, but just kind of how they kind of divvied up the funds and why they came to that conclusion that this is what we're going to have to spend this year, because you had the conversations, and I'm just talking a quick summary, because it's my understanding that it was pretty equal across the board.
Yes. So, in my communications with them, that they were given direction by the Board of Selectmen to work with a number that increased taxes 2%. Could go up to 2.5%, but went to 2%. So with that value in mind, and there are some fixed costs that may have seen some increases, so that had to come off the top. They then looked at each of the departmental budgets, and I had passed out those that information last time. So some departments saw decreases in their budget from 15 to 16, others saw increases of varying degrees. But when averaged together, the increase overall is a 1.41% increase for the town municipal departments. Then they, based on the monies left, that 1.55% to the schools. Now, what we saw, I think, in 14 and 15, in one of those years, it was the exact same value, 2.78% or 2.76%, I believe. And then in 15, it might have been hundreds of a percent a difference in things. So the school department's budget with the benefits and the indirect costs equals about 64% of the overall town's budget. So I would assume that that was a value that they used if they looked at the 1.41% as compared to the 1.55, accounts for that difference there.
Excellent. Secondly, I'd just like to follow up on what Wayne said. I think it pretty much covered all of the conversations that we've had so far, and that's all what we're all looking for, is to get an earlier start next time around, have the joint meetings, and make it known that we need certain things, and we just can't go without them for years on end. So, well said. And just to Dorothy's point, if you could just a quick summary on exactly what that would get us.
The increase in the school psychologist?
The increase, what is that as far as days, as far as hours, as far as where that person would be?
Sure. So currently, we have in the budget for a .4 FTE, which is equivalent to 2 days a week. If we were to add a half-time or a 0.5 to that, or 1/10, I should say, so to get it to 0.5, it would be an additional half-day per week. And that individual is going to be working at the elementary school level, spending her or his time in assessing students' needs, generally for students whose academic or behavioral concerns require some additional testing to determine what he or she needs to be successful. That individual does sometimes do what's called functional behavioral assessments to try and be sure that there are some supports put in place. So it would be the difference between right now what we'll have is the equivalent of 2 days that will likely be spread over a few days' time. To go up that 1/10% would add a half day to that each week.
And through the chair, just to explain, I guess I was thinking, if you have someone there every day of the week, half-time, that's just more opportunities for contact. It just doesn't, so, to further explain. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's certainly something that we can keep in mind, and we don't need to act on right now until we get closer to the time that we
Right.
know we're actually going to have the funds to support that. So, that being said, if there are no further questions, comments, I would entertain a motion to accept the FY16 budget. Wayne?
I would just like to say thank you to the superintendent for helping us with this problem. It came to a head, and we got it done, and it wasn't for your leadership, we probably wouldn't have got to where we got to today. And I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Nicely done. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to support the 1.55 increase to the budget down.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Great. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Good night, everyone.